It was the kind of morning that feels heavier than the night before. The sun had risen, but the light felt dim, as if the sky itself knew the weight of what was going on in David's heart. For months, he had been waking up at the crack of dawn, lacing up his boots, grabbing his pickaxe, and heading to the rocky hillside that had become both his hope and his curse. He wasn't a miner by profession. He wasn't trained for this. But life has a way of throwing you into battles you never planned to fight. David had heard the rumors, the whispers that somewhere in that stretch of land lay a vein of gold, pure, untouched, enough to change his life forever. He had never been one for chasing wild dreams, but something in his gut told him this was different. So, he bought a small plot of land, spent most of his savings on tools, and set out to find it. At first, the work had been exciting. Every strike of the pickaxe was a promise, every chunk of dirt tossed aside was a step closer to something life-changing. He would hum to himself, sweat dripping into his eyes, imagining the day he would finally hit that shimmering line of gold. Weeks turned into months. The once steady rhythm of his pickaxe became slower, heavier. His hands were blistered, his shoulders ached constantly, and the hopeful songs he used to hum were replaced by silence. Neighbors began to glance at him with pity when they passed. "Still out there?" they'd ask, their voices tinged with doubt. He'd nod and smile, but deep inside, the doubt was growing inside him too. There were days when he would find little glimmers, tiny flakes that gave him hope, but they were so few and far between that they felt more like a cruel tease than a blessing. The hole he dug was deep now, so deep that climbing out of it each evening felt like crawling out of his own grave. And every night, as he lay in bed staring at the cracked ceiling, he asked himself the same question: how much longer can I do this? On a particularly cold morning, when frost clung stubbornly to the grass and the air stung his face, David stood at the edge of his pit and felt nothing, no excitement, no curiosity, just emptiness. He gripped the handle of his pickaxe and for a long time, he didn't move. Finally, he swung it once, the metal ringing against stone, and the vibration shot up his arms like a jolt of pain. That was when he dropped the pickaxe and sat on the edge, staring down into the shadows below. "Maybe this isn't for me," he whispered to himself. "Maybe I'm just not meant to find it." His mind started listing all the other things he could do with his life. He could sell the land, recover some of his losses, maybe start over somewhere else. He could take a normal job, one that didn't drain him physically and mentally every single day. But even as those thoughts tried to convince him, there was another voice, quieter, but firm, that said, "Not yet." He argued with himself, pacing around the pit. "Not yet? I've been doing this for months. I've given everything I have, and for what? For a few worthless flakes? I'm tired. I'm done." And yet, he couldn't quite bring himself to leave. That inner voice kept echoing, just one more push. One more day. The sun was beginning to dip when David made his decision. He would give it one last day. One final attempt. If nothing came of it, he would walk away without looking back. That night, he didn't sleep well. His dreams were filled with strange images, a door that wouldn't open, a key that kept slipping from his fingers, a faint golden light just out of reach. The next morning, he woke before the first hint of light touched the horizon. His muscles were stiff, his back sore, but his resolve was sharp. He picked up his tools and descended into the pit one last time. Every strike of the pickaxe echoed in the stillness, and with each blow, he tried to pour in every ounce of strength he had left. Hours passed. The sun rose high and began its slow descent again. Sweat soaked his shirt, dust coated his skin, and his arms trembled from exhaustion. And then, in the fading light of the day, it happened. The pickaxe struck something different, not the dull thud of earth or the harsh clang of stone, but a sound with a sharp, clean ring to it. David froze. He knelt down, brushed the dirt away with trembling hands, and there it was, a golden glimmer catching the dying sunlight. His heart pounded in his chest. He dug faster now, almost frantically, until more and more of the vein revealed itself. It wasn't just gold, it was a thick, solid vein, running deep into the earth, enough to change his life forever. David sat there in the pit, staring at it, laughing and crying at the same time. He thought of all the days he had wanted to quit, all the mornings he had woken up wondering if he was a fool. If he had walked away yesterday, this moment would never have come. He realized the cruel truth and the beautiful truth were the same. Success had been there all along, waiting just a little deeper than his patience had been willing to go. In the days and weeks that followed, David extracted the gold and sold it. He paid off his debts, bought a small home, and finally allowed himself to rest. But more valuable than the gold was the lesson burned into his heart: most people quit when they are closer to their breakthrough than they realize. That final push, the one you think you don't have the strength for, might be the very thing standing between you and everything you've ever dreamed of. David would tell this story to anyone who would listen. He told it to young people about to give up on their studies, to business owners facing bankruptcy, to athletes who thought their best days were behind them. He would look them in the eye and say, "Don't quit yet. You're closer than you think. Your gold might be 3 feet away. Give it one more push." Life has a way of testing us right before the reward. It strips us of comfort, drains our energy, and whispers that we've wasted our time. But in those moments, when the darkness feels endless and the weight seems too much to bear, that is when we must dig a little deeper. Because just beyond the wall of our exhaustion, there might be the light we've been chasing all along. And when you finally see it, when the breakthrough comes, you will understand why the struggle had to last as long as it did. You will realize that it wasn't just about finding the gold. It was about becoming the kind of person who could keep going until they did. So if you're tired, if you're worn out, if you're standing in a deep pit wondering if it's worth swinging that pickaxe one more time, remember David. Remember that the difference between failure and triumph can be just a single day's effort. And ask yourself, what if today is the day the gold reveals itself? Will you be there to see it, or will you have walked away too soon? Because sometimes, all it takes is the last push.